So when you're recording this, does it always have high gigs or no? Is it always gonna be like 26 gigs?
Oh, that's I don't know. That's up to you, bro. Yeah, that's I don't know. I don't know. I really
So
don't
when you
know.
did your last video, do you remember how many gigs it was?
Uh, it was like 4.
Okay, that's fine. That's better.
Yeah, we'll cross that bridge
And then
when you get there.
worst case scenario, if it's too much to transfer,
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, yeah. Shout out to me when I did 2 edits in a night and I uploaded
That was
two
awesome.
videos.
I'll give you an applause. That was fucking awesome, bro.
That was good. That was
Applause.
good. Yes, that was good.
Are we marked?
I'll remark it. We've been recording for 3 minutes now. Marker.
Mark it. What's going on, guys? It's the Well, What Do You Think crew. We are back for a new video. It's me, Omid.
How's it going, guys? It's me, Amir.
It's me, Alvin.
We got Amir and Alvin. We're back for our video on our book review series. And last time me and Alvin did Hulk Gray. I think Amir and Alvin before did Spider-Man Life Story. So Alvin picked this week's book, and it is actually Fantastic Four's life story. We thought this was a good pick because I think Fantastic Four is coming out in a month or so. Alvin read this, I think, about a year ago. He kept recommending us to watch it or to read it. Amir read it probably half a year ago. I just finished it probably 2 hours ago. But
it's this week's read, like you said.
It was this week's read. Everyone, we read it at our own pace. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the life story gimmick, is that it follows our Marvel heroes over several decades. Each issue spans a decade. I believe it starts in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, or I guess what, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s.
It starts in the 60s. 60s,
Okay,
60s,
60s. Yeah. So those of you who are familiar with the Fantastic Four story, it is a group of 4 misfits, astronauts, researchers, whatever it may be. They go into space, they get hit with cosmic rays, and boom, they are the Fantastic Four. So, Alvin, I know you read this a while ago. What were your thoughts going into this book? Because I know both of you guys read Spider-Man Life Story. Is this book kind of similar in that formatting? What are you guys' thoughts? Because this is essentially telling the story of the Fantastic Four just over multiple years.
All right, I'll get into it. So, backstory. I bought this book about almost exactly a year ago when I went to Portland. So, it's been a while since I've read this story, but the formatting is almost exactly the same as Spider-Man Life Story, where each issue takes place in a decade. And I think that form of storytelling for certain characters it works a lot. And when I read this one, I picked this up because, to be honest, I heard this was the worst life story, and I wanted to see what it was
Is there
like.
more than 2?
I think there is. I think there is. I need to
Really?
I need to do research, but it might just be this one, like these two. But between the
That'd
life
be
story,
cool. I hope that they did more. That would be interesting to see, like a Hulk
I
life
feel like there
story.
should definitely be a Captain America life story. I feel like that writes itself.
yeah, right.
That'd be great.
But the online consensus is like I've heard that people consider this like the worst of the life story, comics. So I saw this. This was the last one in the store. I wanted to just buy it because I think the Fantastic Four are great. I love the team. I have the nostalgia for it. I'm glad that they're kind of having a resurgence despite, the thoughts on the movie that's set aside. And I just wanted to see what they can do with these characters in this format. And I think it uses the format in a cool way, but to be honest, I don't remember too much of the story. So you guys are going to have to refresh.
I can help with that.
Yeah, but it uses the format in an effective way. I will say that.
Yeah,
do you want to give your thoughts before I?
Yeah, I was gonna say because I think because I actually like this Fantastic Four life story more than Spider-Man life story because I think what makes this storytelling device kind of work so well versus Spider-Man is that each decade is in the perspective of a different character, which I thought was great. So not only are you really seeing them progress over time, but you're really getting into the psyche of a certain character in that time. Versus, I think with Spider-Man Life Story, they use the decades as a way to kind of do, like Alvin would say in our video, like the best of, the greatest hits of Spider-Man. And I think that's at the detriment of the actual story of having like a great arc, aside from like, oh, he just lived and died as a hero. Versus here, I think you get a lot more of the family dynamic, kind of getting to really see the relationship of Reed, Sue, and how they all work as a family. So I actually thought this was a really great read because I did read this maybe a couple months ago. And like Alvin, big fan of the Fantastic Four as a whole. Human Torch is always one of my favorite characters, but as I'm getting older, I'm finding more appreciation for the other members. So I think this one has a lot of great moments for all of them. So I actually really liked it. I thought it was a great read.
To follow up what Amir said, I did not read Spider-Man Life Story, but I was pleasantly surprised that I really, really enjoyed reading this. This was a big surprise for me because we're going to go into spoilers. But kind of the main point of this book is Reed Richards is essentially cursed with a vision of Galactus coming to Earth. He gets this vision in the 60s, and throughout all the way up until 2010, Reed Richards is so preoccupied and worried about this threat that he spends his entire life trying to come up with solutions to stop this imminent threat, which when they're doing this, you see how it affects Sue Storm, his wife, Johnny Storm, because when he becomes Human Torch, I believe he's like 50. He feels like a child, essentially, in the beginning of this book.
Yeah.
15, 16, 17. And you see how it affects Ben Grimm's life. And I thought what was so strong about this was, I think the best characters are probably Reed and Sue. They're actually all so good because Amber said each person gets their own decade. It starts off with Reed, and they said he's cursed with knowledge of Galactus, and you see how much of his life is consumed by Galactus, where he's never really living. He's never spending time with Sue or his soon-to-be son, Franklin Richards, where all he's doing is putting his life into this. And you see Sue, because like as Alvin mentioned before, the whole thing about Invisible Woman is people see right through her. And in this book, I think the person that sees through her the most is Reed Richards, because one of the saddest moments is when Reed is trying to do his calculations, that Franklin is in the lab with him, and he keeps crying, and he just calls Sue, like, Sue, I need you to come home and get rid of this kid. I can't focus. And Sue, the good wife as she is she's reluctantly agrees to come back home, and you see the place that she's leading.
March, so that's the whole thing.
It's a woman. Yeah, she's a women's rights march. So it's like, all right, she's there to fight for her rights, but when it comes to this, she puts the needs of her family over the needs of her own. And it's really sad because this has made me recontextualize Reed Richards, because as I was reading this through every decade, I'm like, man, Reed, you fucking suck. You are a terrible husband. You are the worst to be around, and you're just living your life through fear. And I think Johnny does a great job of saying living your life through fear is not really living a life at all. And that's what this story feels like. It is a celebration of life, and is telling you that there's only so much you can control in life. And if you are so preoccupied with the future, you lose sight of the present. Really good stuff.
Yeah, because I love just how you brought up that moment of Johnny, because essentially he's saying, like, worrying does you nothing. Because if you're worrying, spending 20 years worrying about something that's going to happen, either A, it happens and you already are fucked, like you've been saying that where it's unstoppable, or B, it doesn't come and you wasted all that time worrying for it. He's like, what you can do is just try to live in the moment and enjoy life. Because I think you were saying, Owen, when you read it, it almost felt like they kind of tackled the psyche of Human Torch of, like, kind of feeling aimless in life, didn't you?
Yeah, life was essentially pointless, and since there's no purpose to it, you might as well enjoy it while you're here.
Yeah.
Do you remember Johnny, his perspective, or what stood out to you in this book?
So that was really well said about, like, I guess your thoughts on the book, and I do remember all of that aspect of it, and I do kind of agree with you guys where in the movie I always thought Reed was super cool because he was a genius. He came up with the suits, the fantastic car, and all that. But when you read Reed Richards in the comics, he's like the worst, dude. He sucks, right?
He does.
He's not a likable dude. He's like very arrogant, and he's very pompous because he thinks that he knows better. Sometimes exclusively he does know better. So sometimes he's exclusively right, but that doesn't excuse why he has to be like this,
Treats.
right?
Mhm.
Um, but my favorite character from what I remember is Johnny, and I know we're going full spoilers in this discussion.
Yep.
The balls of having Johnny die halfway through this story, I loved. And it kind of gave him the purpose that he was looking for, where he's like, he needs to be a hero, right? Or that's what
Mhm.
he is now, right? And I love that you kind of really feel his absence along with the other members of the family. They feel his absence, and like you kind of
Yeah.
also see like his relationship with his nephew, and he's a good parental figure. He's there for his nephew. He's
Mhm.
rooting for his nephew.
Mhm.
So I feel bad for Franklin. Um I again, my second favorite character of the team. Like each character is so good because they like represent something that like it's a metaphor. I love the metaphor of the
Of
Fantastic
life.
Four. We talked about it, I believe, in one of the previous Fantastic Four videos that we've had. But like everyone represents something, right? Reed is stretched too thin, so that's why he has the stretching powers. He's like doing too many things at once. Johnny's a hothead.
Yep.
Sue is seen right through. Ben is the heart. He's the rock of the family.
Mm-hmm.
So he is like my second favorite member of this team. Um, I don't particularly remember his character arc too much, but I remember just reading whenever he had his snippet in this story. Like it was great. Like he you kind of read it in his accent and like his kind of like his
Mm-hmm.
own voice. So
Mhm.
I think they really do a great job of capturing the essence of these characters and the voices of the team.
Because for those who don't
Also,
remember,
thing. Sorry, good.
sorry. I was yeah. So for those who haven't read it or don't remember, what Things Decade was about was pretty much him trying to find happiness because he was saying as he was turned into this rock monster, he really feel like he didn't get to live life. So he tries online dating, and it was great because you see it in the '90s. He's using the old computer trying to make a dating profile, and he's like, "Oh, I am." New York's grumpiest tourist attraction because when people would see him, they'd be like, "Oh my God, it's the thing," and not really care about the person inside. And that's when he meets Alicia, and he goes on his blind date with her, who happens to be a blind person. And it's great as you see their romance blossom into a real relationship where it was great because Thing was so unused to being seen as a person that
Loved.
loved that what this story was trying to say was he felt like he didn't deserve love or that he had to earn it. And what Alicia was trying to tell him is you don't have to earn love. And also I think one of her best lines was um, finding true love in life is such a hard thing to find. So when you do find it, try not to convince yourself out of it. And
Mhm.
that was great because it was the idea of Thing like stopped calling her because he had so much remorse of what happened during the Korean War, where he was bombing some cities and children were essentially left homeless. So he felt because of that he was unlovable, but because of her and her big heart, she said it's fine. You make mistakes, you grow into become a better person, and you allow love to come into your life once it finds you. So that's great. I think Thing is he is the heart of this, even though he's the one who doesn't look like a human. It's good stuff.
Like, also, I was gonna say, like, I really liked in that decade of like he would have like a good time with like these tourists that he's talking about. Like they would have a great time hanging out at night, and they get their Instagram picture, and then they kind of just go off and enjoy the rest of the night, and he's just left there alone. So he just kind of feels empty. So that was great that you brought that up. But one thing that I thought was really interesting, because I didn't know this as like I guess a thing of like him not aging or aging slower. So I thought that was great to see in the last 2 decades of like you were seeing these members actually grow gray and get older, but like Thing was saying like, oh, he still had the energy and he was still kind of living life. So it was just great seeing kind of the old man Reed Richards and his dynamic, but how he's still kind of the fun uncle to Franklin. I thought it was great. Like it felt like by him not aging, it made the him always being there, sturdy as a rock. Like you will always find him. He will always be reliable. He will always be around. So that was a great metaphor for him. But one thing I did want to mention that I did have an issue with, because I know when Alvin, you were reading it, you were mentioning how, because you would read this after work, and like you would read it at night, and like you would get to maybe like 3 pages, and they're like, dude, I am so tired. This is so boring. Like, cause I think the plot of it is great, but I mean, it's still like a decently long, like trade there's 6 issues. Every issue is like 30 pages, so it does drag a little bit. So I will mention that. But one of my issues with it is like Omid alluded to it being a story about Galactus. I was surprised that they spent like 4 issues building up to this impending doom, and then they really wrap it up within like 2 pages. Where I did like a double take when I was reading it at night. I'm like, wait, there's no way. It's like, is it over? This is like a twist. Is he in the next issue? And then I was like, wow, they really wrapped it up. So I thought that kind of made it end like a wet fart a little bit, where it was like it didn't live up to the hype of it, and it was still kind of confusing how they defeated Galactus, because they did some like mind melding moment of Reed and Galactus, but I don't know what killed him. Oh, you read it more recently. Can you kind of?
I did. So I was just reading it today, and Amir was in the living room, and I think he audibly heard me when I finished that decade. I was like, "What the fuck is this?" The end of Galactus, or is he in 2010s? And Amir's like, "Do you want to spoil?" I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
Galactus is done." And I was like, "What the fuck? That was 2 pages." But the way that they stop him is a little backstory. Silver Surfer comes to the Earth saying, "Hey, I will give Earth a chance to live if Reed Richards chooses to become the Herald of Galactus. You can save your Earth, but essentially damn billions and billions of other planets." So Reed chooses to accept it. When he goes up into space, there's something off. The person who went up to space was not Reed; it was Franklin Richards. And what Reed and Galactus do is they have a mind meld connection. And when that happens, essentially Franklin Richards uses his psionic powers to make both brain dead. And when the brain dead thing just punches him in the face, and he's done, I guess, forever. Dumb as fuck. I did think it was pretty great that Silver Surfer died. I thought he was a very interesting character. And now, if they're doing her in the story or in the movie, it would be very interesting to see like her origin, where she is presented the choice to save her planet and damn the rest. I think that's a very sad
That'd be
destiny.
a great opening, honestly. Like,
it would be great.
You know how Marvel Studios always like, or for certain movies, they'll have like an opening before they even get to the like Marvel Studios opening credits. Like, you just see her planet essentially facing like Galactus. Like, you just see a giant shadow getting ready to destroy the planet, and then she's offered that deal. That would be great.
Yeah. That would be
I mean,
awesome.
You know, that'd be really, really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, they waste Galactus. Alvin, what were your thoughts on his death when you read it the first time?
I was very surprised at the emphasis of Franklin, and I was also surprised that they didn't include Valeria. Like, she's also
That's the daughter?
She's the daughter of Reed and Sue, and they decided to just.
She wasn't in it.
Yeah, she just wasn't in this story. Usually,
Okay, yeah.
it's like Franklin and Valeria. They're a part of like another team, like the Power Pack, like it's just a bunch of superhero kids. But yeah, I do like that the emphasis of how powerful and how much of a threat Franklin can be. And I think that, I guess we're going to kind of transition into the new movie Fantastic Four First Steps.
Isn't that why Galactus came, actually?
He wanted.
I think you're right about that, right? Isn't that why he came? Oh, he didn't come for Franklin?
No, he came for Reed because the whole thing is Silver Surfer was dying. So he's like, I need a new Herald. And because the connection that Reed and Galactus had was so strong, he's like, he'd be a great new Herald for me.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead, Alvin.
So I think that the new movie is gonna take a lot from this comic, which I'm surprised about, but also I think it's cool that like we read it kind of before we kind of even really know for sure if it is.
Yeah.
But
Speculation.
yeah, I for sure see this movie being like the first 10-15 minutes of like that's their origin, where they go to space, they come back, and then they just do like Mole Man and like, you know, the different kind of the different hokey characters from the 60s, from the first few issues of Fantastic Four. They kind of get that done in the first 10-15 minutes, and then you kind of get that Galactus tease of Reed getting paranoid about this bigger threat. I think that in that universe, you won't have a Tony Stark. Reed will be that version of Tony Stark. You know how Tony was nervous and like wanted to make Ultron to save them from Thanos? I think he's gonna be that version of that universe's Tony Stark, where he sees this bigger threat and like he's paranoid. He's like, oh, this threat is coming. We got to do everything we can to protect ourselves. And I think that Galactus is not going to be coming for Reed, but he's going to be coming for the kid. He's going to be coming for his infant son because of how because Galactus can see the potential of his abilities. I think that's how the movie's going to go. So they're going to try to protect the baby. Yeah.
What else thought was really interesting was in this how you're saying they showed how powerful Galactus was essentially 40 years of Reed Richards' life was essentially building a defense system for Galactus, and the instant Silver Surfer comes in here, he destroys it in an instant, and it really feels like 40 years of Reed's life was wasted, and Silver Surfer was like, you guys have no chance of stopping Galactus. If I was able to go through this without even trying, I'm at 1,000th of Galactus's power. You guys stand no chance. And I just think that when I was reading, I was like, man, I don't even know how they were going to stop him, because I'm like, Galactus truly is unstoppable. So I do agree. I think in this movie, either he's coming for Reed Richards because Reed Richards knows essentially once you're aware of a higher existence and you're marked for destruction, or it could be because Franklin Richards is such a powerful character that Galactus possibly wants him as his new herald. I don't know, but I do agree with Alvin. I think the movie will probably pull a lot from this, and that could be pretty interesting.
The only thing that makes me worried about if they do that, because I mean, I saw there was a quote that came from Matt Shackman today about saying no movies really inspired him for this, but he said comics in particular. He's like, oh, the Jack Kirby, Stan Lee era, and he also mentioned Hickman, and then one other comic book writer. I forgot the name of it, but
is it Russell Woodard or Izaski?
No, I don't think it was either of them, but I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls from that. But what I was going to say is Doctor Doom plays such a small part in this story, I feel like, for the most part, that if this is going to be the adaptation that movie takes, it does kind of worry me, because, like, they're saying that this is going to be setting up Doctor Doom for Doomsday and Secret Wars. So I don't know if RDJ is going to play a big role. Like, I don't know if he wouldn't be the herald or anything like that, but I don't know how they would try to incorporate him in the story, because in this he felt very kind of like villain of the week. Yeah, kind of like he would come in and then he would be his plans would be thwarted. Like, he went to the UN trying to stop all of them, and then Sue and Johnny defeat him. But,
Captain America.
Oh, Captain America. Yeah. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they fit that into the story. But it was a good read. I think. What did you get it for, Alvin? In Oregon, like $20?
No, it was like 16, 17. Not bad.
Yeah, it's a great read. I think this is the first Fantastic Four book I've read. I've been familiar with the origin of the characters. I think this is a really good job. There's a lot of heart, and I think for me, I don't know about for you guys, the weakest part of the book was actually when they were incorporating the larger Marvel universe into it. I think when it was mainly kind of about life and essentially how to live it and essentially how not to, because by the end of the story, you really feel bad for Sue, or at least I did, because Reed, after he stops Galactus near the end of his life, he realized that he wasted a lot of his life worrying about something that he could not control, that he would love to get more time back to spend with Sue Storm. And I'm like, when I read it, I'm like, damn, I really did feel bad for Sue, because she stayed with this person.
Well, they did break up, though. So they
did break up, but it didn't make sense. Decades. It was only like, I think, I guess they were separated.
In the 90s? 20 years?
It would be, yeah, I guess 20 years, but they were never divorced. Because I think they get back together after Johnny dies, which I thought they didn't do a great job of kind of saying why they got back together, because it felt very much of like a toxic relationship where I think Sue resented him, because even during the Franklin's wedding, Reed was telling Sue, our international space defense system is finally ready. And Sue was like, oh, it's great. I'm so happy for you. And she was kind of saying like, oh, you don't really want to save the world. You just want a monument for your life and to be remembered. And she's like, it's really hard to fall in love with a statue. And you just feel really bad for her, because like, if you only get one shot at life and she chooses to stay with this person that isn't necessarily the most um, present. I just felt like, man, she could have had a better life if she chose to be with somebody else, not with Namor. But it's I think it's a good story about life and how that can happen to people.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Because remember, he becomes a vegetable for the last two
Decade,
issues, right? Just the last
last
decade.
issue,
Okay.
the
Um,
2000s he becomes it, and then the 2010s is when he
okay.
is.
Uh, did they do anything like of letting him kind of live in his memory or act
Yes.
out? Yeah, they did, right? Franklin essentially let him have like
Oh no.
no,
And it
they
was
never.
Because what it was Doctor Doom was setting his Doom bots, which I also thought was very stupid. Because when he was losing, he said, "All right, I just want to save the world, and if I can't save the world, I might as well destroy it." So he sends all of his
Yeah.
Doom bots all over the world. The Mad Inventor goes to Reed, who's a
Oh
vegetable.
yeah, wasn't it a head too? There was like a
Yeah.
really weird.
Yes.
Yeah, that was
yes.
stupid. Yeah, I
It was
forgot
like a
that,
flash drive. It was a flash drive more so.
yeah, so didn't Reed have a digital copy of his own personality?
Yes.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah.
It was weird, but it felt very much something
worked.
that Reed would do. So it
Yeah.
was the idea that Reed set up his like essentially final consciousness before he went brain dead into this module, and as Reed was a vegetable, he was being talked to by an imaginative Johnny Storm that was telling him to break out of this vegetative state and reach out and help those that need him. It was great just because that I think solidified how Johnny was a very strong character. Was a very strong character and was pushing Reed to essentially try harder. And because if Reed could not snap out of this vegetative state, the world would be destroyed. And then that was when, in the head of Reed Richards was able to apologize to both Franklin and Sue Storm for being a terrible father and a terrible husband, and apologize to Ben and thank him for the great friend that Ben was. So that was all great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird, but yeah, I do remember like, oh, that was kind of a cool way of like him doing a final goodbye and then kind of accepting responsibility. Because what makes this story so interesting is that just how flawed Reed Richards is, and just the more I'm reading of the Ultimate Universe stuff, it's just cool getting a deeper understanding of just Reed Richards as a character, which I really like. 'Cause, I mean, um, I think they're probably going to be playing with that aspect in the MCU of like, I guess him being kind of detached from, because I think they're going to play him on the spectrum. I think Pedro Pascal is going to play him on the spectrum, which will make him feel different than the other two Reeds, which I think is interesting. But I would love to see a version of Reed that feels kind of more accurate of, yes, he is the smartest person or one of the smartest people in the universe, but what kind of personality do you have to have in order to kind of get to that? Like, you're dismissive of other people. You're spending so much time in your books, in your work that, yeah, probably you're, kind of rejecting people, not intentionally, but like, you're like, oh, I have to get this done. So I would really love to see that, because I think this book did that very well. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds like all of us are kind of in agreement. Did you have any other points you want to bring up, Alvin?
No, I think it's just purely because I read this a while ago, where I can't really contribute as much as I can, but from what I remember, I think that it is a good story to read if you like the Fantastic Four. I don't know if this is a good story for your first Fantastic Four comic. I don't know if you guys feel the same.
But you mentioned a similar thing for Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to bring that up, where it's like it's a good Fantastic Four story, but it is not the first Fantastic Four story you should read. Right? Yeah. I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
I thought it was actually a great jumping point because 6 issues you get a good understanding of each character, and besides how they stopped Galactus, I thought it was a phenomenal read. I thought it got to really understand a lot of the characters, and there were actual stakes too. Because when Johnny died, I didn't believe it. I thought they were gonna find some way to fake it out, because I'm like, there's no way Johnny is surviving a fucking nuke. That's stupid if he does. And I was very happy he didn't.
Yeah.
And that played a very emotional moment and kind of changed the family dynamic for the Fantastic Four, which is very sad. Forever, very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is glowing recommendation. I think they're pretty positive recommendations for all of us. I know we were mentioning that there are some problems with some of the villains, but I think
A
the
little bit of
pros.
pacing. I mean, it is a little slow
On.
at certain issues, but yeah, I think it's just such a, I think such a good read that, yeah, like I've been saying, I don't know if it's necessarily the first one you should read, but I would put it on the list. I think it is definitely a book you should want to seek out if you do like the Fantastic Four, because it just reminded me just of how much I liked these characters, because they've been gone for just so long, and that's what I think makes the movie just so exciting, is like putting these guys back in the front, putting the respect on their name that they deserve. So yeah, great read.
Yeah,
I agree. I want to pull up one great panel. I just thought, like reading this, how it really is the greatest hits of the Fantastic Four. Like when Silver Surfer came in, this is just him sitting in the Baxter Building, kind of saying, "Hey, I gotta talk to you guys. There's one way you guys can save the world, and it's not by actually being Galactus. It is by taking this deal." And when I was reading, I was like, "Man, the Fantastic Four is so sick," and I'm excited to see Silver Surfer in the MCU. And I think if they do this backstory, that can be really, really awesome. And it's, I guess, like we're all saying, it has just been so long since we've seen Fantastic Four in anything. And if they have been in things recently, it hasn't really been great. So it was really refreshing to read something that was really good.
We didn't get the Maker in this. That's probably
I'm
also
sorry.
it's also a big downfall of the book.
Yeah.
I know
Actually,
also
don't read the
something you
book.
didn't like.
Do not read the book now. Now that
I
I'm
know
thinking
there was
about it.
another reason. I know there's another reason Amir didn't like this book. Do you remember which hero was at the end helping Captain Marvel?
Captain Marvel was in this.
Captain Marvel is in this. Alvin, you think too. Think of Amir. Think of which character he does not want to see in this book.
You're a joke. I'm guessing
I'm
Miles Morales is in this. You're a joke. You're a joke.
Wait, what?
Yes,
Only has
Spider-Man's in this book.
This running gag. He's this running gag on this channel that I don't like Miles Morales.
Spider-Man. Spider-Man was in this book, and he was great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, Spider-Man was
Yes.
in this. Oh, sorry,
Yes.
both of you guys don't like Miles Morales.
No, Miles is my favorite Spider-Man. I've said this
Oh,
throughout.
perfect. Same.
I've said this plenty of
same.
times. He's my favorite Spider-Man.
Oh yeah,
He's great.
baby.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
He's great.
baby. Amir, I want to hear you say he's the best Spider-Man.
He's not my favorite. It's fine for him not to be my favorite. I love Miles Morales, but he's not my favorite. He's great.
Cool. So
I've probably
yeah,
read more Miles Morales books than you've read.
I don't
These
read.
are my Ultimate books. I don't think you've ever read Miles Morales, have you?
I just don't read.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you did. You
I
just
watch
read through the
movies.
pictures. You saw the pictures. In
I
this
just
book.
I figured out what everything was going on. I think I got a decent
Okay.
understanding.
You chat GBT'd it.
I did. So I think this has been a quite positive review for this book. As we've been saying countless times, if the movies aren't giving what you want, there are really great reads, and they're also quite cheap. I say go ahead and explore some comic books, whatever favorite characters you have from either Marvel, DC, Image, whatever it is. I think it's just awesome to really go into comic books and support, I guess, the source material before they're made into movies. Anything else you guys want to say
definitely.
before we close it out?
No, you
I
said.
just want to thank Alvin for letting us borrow the book. You know, he got it. He's like, hey, I'm just really interested in seeing your guys' thoughts about it since we did Life Story. So it was just a cool kind of throwback to the first one we did. So it was a great read.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Alvin. I know I picked Hulk Gray. Alvin did Life Story. Amber, do you kind of have an idea of what you want to do? I was telling you Spider-Man Blue's coming out pretty soon. They're doing a re-release. I don't know if you guys have read it. That would be a really fun one to do together because for those who know, that's like one of the most beloved Spider-Man stories of all time. And it has a lot of emotion and a lot of heart, so that could be a fun read. But Amber, do you have any trades you think we should read that isn't an omnibus?
One that would be cool. It would just be interesting for the old, like 'cause we were talking about the 2000s reads and just the nostalgia that kind of comes from that. And in particular, because Alvin, I'm guessing you grew up watching the Marvel animated movies, or not really?
Yeah.
Did you grow up with those? You did?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So, as you guys already know, they've just been going through the whole Ultimate library. Like now that I'm coming to the end of the second Ultimates, not the new Ultimates, but new Ultimates. And the original run, I think it's Mark Millar. That was a really interesting read, and you know that's not like a full series. They truly treat it like a movie. Is reading it just made me realize how much the MCU pulled from the Ultimate Universe. So I think that one is like, I think 10 issues, but I think that was a great read. It's yeah. I think that would be a great read. I mean, Omid, you're reading like a 1,600-page omnibus of Immortal Hulk, so I think you can get through 10 issues.
But is it a self-hating Hulk? If there's a self-hating Hulk in
Yes.
Ultimates, I would love to. Oh, okay.
Yes, it's a great story. It's a great dark story, and actually, I would love to have Nick be a part of this because Nick is, I think, almost nearing the end of the initial Ultimate run, and him and I had some interesting conversations about it. I think Alvin was there that one night, and he probably heard us discussing our thoughts. So if you guys are interested in reading it, I think that would be a fun discussion. Just because we are now at the cusp of, I think, the MCU getting rebooted, and I think there are certain lessons that they could learn from the Ultimate Universe, regardless if it's the Hickman era or original era. But yeah. Just want to keep reading more books with you guys.
Same.
Cool. So keep an eye out for our next book review. If we do the Ultimate, that would be a fun read. I have a couple of other books that maybe are a bit shorter. And also, we'll just keep an eye out. Maybe there's something Superman coming out soon. We'll see. But it's been the What Would You Think crew. It's been me, Omid.
It's me, Amber, guys.
It's me, Alvin.
It's been the boys. Thank you for watching. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. And thanks for listening. And we'll catch you on the next video.
Have a great one, guys.
See
See you
ya.
next time.